Have you seen that dreaded P0012 code pop up on your Toyota? Well, don't panic. We're going to break down exactly what that check engine light is trying to tell you and give you a super simple step-by-step plan to figure it out.
So, there it is. That little amber light just pops up on your dashboard. You know, it's that moment that can give any driver instant anxiety. You grab a scanner, plug it in, and it spits out a code. But if that code happens to be P0012, the very first thing you should do is just take a deep breath. Seriously, this is not a sign of some huge, catastrophic failure. It's just your car telling you about a very specific problem. And honestly, more often than not, it's something you can totally solve yourself.
Together, right now, we're going to walk through a really logical diagnostic plan. The key here is we're starting with the absolute easiest, cheapest, and most common fix first, and then we'll work our way up from there. This approach is going to save you a ton of time, money, and a whole lot of headaches.
All right, let's start with the basics. Because before you can fix the problem, you first have to understand exactly what your car is trying to tell you with this P0012 code.
So the super technical definition is intake camshaft position timing over retarded bank 1. Okay, what does that even mean in plain English? It just means your engine's computer has noticed that the timing of the intake camshaft on bank 1, which is usually the side of your engine that has cylinder number 1, is lagging behind. It's delayed, or retarded, and that directly hurts your engine's performance and its fuel efficiency.
You know, a really easy way to think about it is to compare it to breathing. For you to run at your absolute best, your breathing has to be timed perfectly, right? Well, it's the exact same for your engine. When that intake valve timing is off, the engine just can't breathe the way it's supposed to, and it's not going to run as smoothly or as powerfully as it should.
Now here is the really good news. The #1 cause of a P0012 code is also the easiest and cheapest thing for you to check.
Believe it or not, the vast majority of these P0012 codes are directly related to your engine oil. And this is fantastic news because it means the fix might be as simple as just some basic maintenance. See, the whole system that controls your valve timing, it's called the VVT system. It completely relies on clean oil at the right pressure to work properly. So, your very first move is to pop the hood and check your oil. First thing, pull out the dipstick. Is the level correct? Low oil means low oil pressure, and that will absolutely starve the VVT system. Second, what's the condition of the oil? Take a look. If it's old, really dark, or even sludgy, it can clog up all the tiny passages that system needs to function. And finally, are you using the right kind of oil? The wrong weight or viscosity can cause all sorts of problems.
And I'm being completely serious here. If your oil is low or just looks nasty, an immediate oil and filter change, using the correct oil of course, is very, very often the only fix you'll need to make that check engine light disappear.
But what if your oil is perfectly fine and that light is still on? Well, that brings us to our next step. We've got to inspect the VVT system itself.
Okay, so you've confirmed it. Your oil level is perfect, the oil is fresh and clean. Now it's time to look at the actual components of the variable valve timing, or VVT system. So there are 3 key parts we need to look at here. First up is the VVT solenoid, which you might also hear called an oil control valve. It's basically an electronic valve that directs the oil flow. Next is the camshaft position sensor. Its one and only job is to tell the computer the exact position of that camshaft. And finally, there's this tiny little VVT oil filter screen. Its job is to protect the solenoid, but it can get completely clogged up with sludge. So let's focus on the most common culprit of those 3, the VVT solenoid. First, you'll need to find the intake solenoid for bank 1 on your engine. Now before you unbolt anything, check the wiring going to it. Make sure it's not frayed or damaged. If the wiring looks good, you can go ahead and remove the solenoid. It's usually just held in by 1 bolt, and then inspect its little mesh screens for gunk. You can try cleaning it, but honestly, for how cheap they are, just replacing it is often the best bet.
And here's the best part. Even if you do need to replace that solenoid, it's a pretty inexpensive part. You can typically find a new one for somewhere between $25 and $55, which makes this a really affordable next step in our diagnosis.
Okay, but what if you've done all that? You've changed the oil, you've checked the solenoid, and that light is still on. Well, now we have to start looking at some of the deeper, less common mechanical possibilities.
Now, it's really important to remember, these are the things you only consider after you have ruled out all the simpler, cheaper fixes. These issues are definitely less common, but they are more serious, and they'll almost always require a professional mechanic. At this point, we're talking about things like a timing chain that is stretched out over many, many miles, or maybe it even jumped a tooth, which would throw the engine's base timing way off. It could also be a stuck camshaft phaser. That's the actual gear that adjusts the timing. Any of these problems points to much more significant internal engine work.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. Let's create one clear, simple action plan that you can follow from the very start to the very finish.
And here it is. This is your entire diagnostic funnel, from top to bottom. You always start at the top with the easiest and most likely fix, your engine oil. If that doesn't solve it, you move down to inspecting the VVT solenoid and its little filter screen. Still no luck? Then you can consider the camshaft sensor. And only if all of those things fail to fix the issue should you move to the bottom of the funnel and get a professional inspection of the timing components.
By following this logical process, you've gone from that feeling of anxiety to having a clear, actionable plan. You now have the knowledge you need to tackle this common codehead head-on. So, the only question left is, are you ready to solve the mystery of P0012?